Medfield TV presents Meet the Candidates Interviews with Our Citizens Running for Local Offices. This series is being brought to you by the joint efforts of Carol Mayer, Town Clerk, Perry Oasis, Medfield High School Social Studies teacher, as well as Rachel Ferrullo, Medfield TV. I'm Ella Kohler from Medfield High School. I will be posing questions to the candidate. He will have 2 minutes to respond to each question. At the end of the questioning period, the candidate will have 2 minutes to address the TV audience. Today we are interviewing Tim Knight. He is a candidate running for the office of school committee. This position is for a 3-year term. There are 2 positions open, and he is running unopposed. So how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks. How about you?
I'm good too.
Good.
So your first question is, if anyone has any questions they'd like to ask you, where or how can they contact you?
Yeah, sure. Easily by phone, 781. I usually have a mobile with me, 781-254-4733, or through email.
Mm-hmm.
And that's there, nightnight022@gmail.com, and that's night with a K.
Okay. So first off, do you believe it matters if a school committee member's children attend Medfield Public Schools or not?
I think that probably the most important thing is you're informed if you're part of the school committee, and by informed, you're kind of getting a signal from the students, from the parents, from the administration, the teachers, etc. And I don't think it's a requirement, right? I think you probably also, if you have students or kids in the district, you're going to have a vested interest in the school and the kids' success. But there's plenty of other ways, right? If you can maintain that signal from the schools, I think, and you have a vested interest in the school's success, I don't think it's a requirement. In my case, I have 3 daughters who are in the schools, and that's helped me get there, but I definitely wouldn't think it would be a requirement.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what compelled you to step in to be on the school committee?
Good question. So I've always had an interest in K through 12. Probably it started like tutoring in school and after school, and for a while I thought, hey, maybe someday I'd actually teach and coach. And I got a little lucky in my career. I'm in high tech sales, and I had the opportunity to work and sell into K through 12 way back when No Child Left Behind came out back in the early 2000s. And that was all about monitoring how the schools are performing and are they really making adequate yearly progress. So that gave me a different light to look at, more on the administrative side. And it also gave me, there's some good things and bad things, things like budgets and things you have to manage. But so that was a great opportunity I had, probably about 10 years. It wasn't full time, but it was, really let me learn a lot more. And then probably most important, as I started raising my kids here in Medfield, I got closer and closer to what the schools are doing. I've learned, they're about the academics, but they're also more about the well-being of our kids. Mm-hmm. And I'm just so appreciative of what they're doing for us. So that, with that interest, becomes a little more opportunity to volunteer, and so I started becoming more active in the SEL program last year. Mm-hmm. And as that evolved, he said, geez, I'd like to do more. So as I learned more about it, I talked to others who've served in this role and decided to raise my hand.
Yeah, certainly. So what are some of the most important issues that the school committee deals with?
Well, there's an awful lot. If you look at, and I had some notes I wrote down, that the school committee deals with a great deal. Probably the one that they see year after year, no matter what, is the budget. Mm-hmm. It's a timely one now, just as we're talking about I think a 4.5% potential override. But I think that's an important issue, not just because of the financial side, but it lets you look at the schools really from every angle, right? Look at the operational side, look at the financial side, look at the personnel, right? How are we doing? Look at the retention, the well-being of the staff. So I think that the school committee is, as I understand it, responsible for that budget, right? We approve that. Mm-hmm. So that's obviously important. Things that are not immediate but critical, hiring the personnel, right? When the school committee brought on Jeff a few years ago, I mean, that's the leader. That's the leader of the whole district. So hiring and managing that, I think, is obviously critical. As far as issues today, things like class size, more families are moving in, more kids are moving in. So how do we maintain the incredible school system and program that we have with the same budget and more students? I think that's obviously really important. I think balance, right? As some people love the Medfield schools, and geez, with Medfield schools, maybe we have the Ivy League education. And or the Medfield, gosh, if I have my kid in this sport, this is the best. And I think we have to be smarter about this, right? It's more about the health of the kids first and the well-being of the kids, and just making sure we all understand, yeah, we all want to be number one, but let's not overburden the kids. And finally, an area that I'm pretty active now is just mobile devices as well, and what's the impact that's having on kids. I look at that as a really good opportunity for the schools, right? As you're taking a test, they can see how you're doing, where you need to be doing better. But those are adult devices, right? And they can bring on a lot of stress and other issues. So those are a few that are kind of top of mind for me.
Yeah. So what qualities qualify you for the position?
So I think, first off, you need to be motivated, right? I shared a little bit of history of why I'm interested, but if it's not in your DNA in terms of why you're interested, you're probably not going to be the best candidate. Motivation in and of itself, I think, is just it's a nice starting point. I shared the background in K through 12. Back then, it was helping. A lot of that is managing some big budgets. It's not just the financials, it's different stakeholders with different opinions and trying to find middle ground. And I know that I've been at enough, whether it's the school committee meetings or town meetings, I know that's an important area, and that's something I do in my day-to-day job all the time. I'd also say, you have to have an interest in the K through 12 and that whole education side. And as a parent, as a coach, I volunteer. Probably right now I'm actually coaching 5 different teams, and that gives me really good just keeping in touch with the kids, not just the kids, keeping in touch with the parents, right? So I've been that way all the way through. Those I think are, those are a few areas, and I think probably the last piece is that background in analytics. We're constantly looking at how our students performing, and that's been my career. That's what I do in the private sector and the public sector, and it's not just the performance; it's the cultural change as well, right? If you're going to put those systems in place and scrutinize teachers based on student performance, you have to look at the whole picture. Yeah. And that's what I'm constantly doing, and just more on my job away from here, so to speak.
Yeah. So speaking on one specific issue, what are your thoughts on Medfield schools' starting times?
Starting times, I think, that's a great topic. I think it's something we should look into. All the research that I've seen suggests that if especially at the middle school and high school level, if you can push the start time back, the kids are going to get they're going to get more sleep. And one study I saw said if you push it back 10 minutes, that's going to give kids 20 minutes of sleep. And what does that mean? We see more sleep means improved academic performance, improved behavior in the schools, which I think is a good thing, and obviously things like the stress and the emotional well-being. So that doesn't mean, hey, let's go do this, right? Because you also have to think about, well, what's the impact on the teachers? They are dealing with the starting time, and it's been that way for so long. So you have to look at it from other sides. But to me, that's something that it just seems natural to start to look into it a little more.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on the new Challenge Success program at the high school?
The Challenge Success is fantastic, and I'm not sure if the viewers have heard about it, but it's a program, and I wrote some notes a little bit about it. But some of the areas that they focus, reducing unhealthy pressure and demands, right? Trying to help define a broader definition of success, and kind of in line with what I just talked about. It's great to be a top performer academically or athletically, but what are the consequences? What is that doing to our kids? And from what I understand, I mean, challenge success, it's literally trying to flip it on its head, which I think is fantastic. It's early, right? We just sent a group out to Stanford where this thing started this fall. The feedback from the team that went out, and that was parents, that was teachers, that was students, was positive. They've just introduced it now into the high school. But I think it's also about cultural change, and that doesn't happen quickly. So what I've read is usually it's a couple years before you really start to see is it making the right types of changes. But so far it's hard to argue with some of the things that the mission statement that they have.
Yeah, sure. So how do you think that Medfield can best utilize its existing resources without purchasing new materials?
So some of that is I think of is 101, right? Just in general, let's look at current state. Right? What problems do you have? What resources do you have? Whether it's financial or people, and what changes might you want to make, right? Is it even feasible? So if you look, and I was in a meeting this week with the Warren Committee where Jeff was talking about how is the school now continuing to figure out ways to take money that they're spending and reallocate it in new and more innovative ways. So things like they combine contracts with the town for the utilities, which frees up some dollars. He talked about moving the buses from a 3-tier to a 2-tier. We haven't been able to quite manage getting the contract down, but it means less workload on the buses and ideally more money for the district. They put in a whole program around managing for teachers or staff who have kids. They now have childcare at the schools, right? So one, it's generating revenue. Two, and probably more important, it's a better quality of life for those teachers. And gosh, it's important that they have that. So I think you just need to be smart. The nice part about the annual budgeting process, it forces you to look. Certain programs, if they're working well, and oh, by the way, they're buying new books every year, you might ask, do you really need to do that? All right, so I think you just want to be well-rounded. You want to be thoughtful about it, and obviously the biggest topics are going to get the resources.
So, are you in contact with Medfield students?
Yeah, absolutely.
Your kids.
Yeah, I mean, having the 3 kids and in 3 schools is a good start. Coaching has been where I've spent a lot of the time, and it's just basketball's busier.
Yeah.
But it's great, when you have that many teams. I mean, I'm carpooling with them a lot. It's a fun way to kind of, with my 5th grader, to hear what her and her friends have going on. And you ask, like, hey, do your friends have mobile devices, and why, and what are you missing? So that's, you get it naturally there. The Medfield SEL program is fantastic. That it's teachers, it's students that you're serving with, and we're talking about big, real topics.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're, it's kind of just goes with the territory as
for sure.
living here.
Yeah. So do you have anything to add to that about how you stay up to date on current issues, or that covers it for you? Or?
No, I think the other side is just general research, right? So that you're going to stay in touch with the kids, and then you start hearing about certain topics that might come up, like challenge success. I said, hey, that sounds great. Well, let's look at challenge success and see what's going on out there. So you obviously, we talked last year in the SEL subcommittee I was on was around homework. And do you want more homework? not what's the impact if we increase the homework, does that improve student performance? And you got to research that, right? People have done studies around there. So you absolutely want to stay in touch with the kids. You want to stay in touch with the pulse of the parents. You need to stay in touch with the teachers and administration, and those, to me, you almost have to hit each one of them individually. What are each of them saying? And then kind of as you listen to what people are saying, you share your thoughts, your recommendations, etc.
So kind of on to another note about a different issue, but How can the school committee address students drooling at school?
That's a good question. I don't know that I'd say the school committee, because I think it takes a team. It takes everybody. Drooling's tough, right? Because you've got those that are out there that produce the product are promoting and telling you it's safe and it's cool, right? That's the message that you and some of the students are hearing, and you do the research, and gee, it hasn't been out there long enough. Nobody can say if it's safe. I don't think it's necessarily cool. So what can we do overall? It's going to be a common theme you'll hear from me. It is about education.
Yeah.
Right, and tonight, I'm going right from here. I was amazed. My 5th grader is going to middle school. They're running a program for parents there on the dangers of drooling. So let's get all the parents, let's get all the teachers at least on the same page in terms of what are the kids going to hear from that side, and then what are we going to do with the kids? Let's continue to educate, and as we learn more, educate, put the rules in place, enforce the rules. Right, and just continue to watch and monitor.
And so I'm assuming you feel that way about other drugs and alcohol issues, right?
Yeah, I think the difference, the only difference is drooling is new. Drugs and alcohol, were real issues when I was a kid as well. I think parents were dealing with it then. The difference today is there's just a lot more information out there. There's really good hard evidence that says, especially you're doing that when you're younger, what the damage that can be done. But we have to watch. We're running the surveys every year, right? See if we see a trend. What is the signal you're hearing from guidance? What are people hearing from parents? And put the right programs, put the right education, respond appropriately when you see a trend coming up that the schools can try to help impact. Those are a few things, but they're tough ones. They're always going to be out there for us.
So also, how do you think that stress in the schools could be further addressed?
First off, I think that's an area that I was amazed as I learned. The school takes it extremely seriously. As much as, again, it's great that we're a high-performing district, but you hear as much, whether it's Jeff or the different principals, about managing the well-being of the kids. So I think I wrote down a couple ideas on that one even. Peel back the onion, right? Stress is showing up in all kinds of places. One of the topics that came up last year, kids are playing field hockey or soccer, and parents get together, and wouldn't it be great? Hey, let's decorate the lockers, and let's have a team dinner, and let's do some other things for the seniors. And all of a sudden you have to start looking at, well, how much time are you asking the kids to put into that? And they also have their homework, and they also have their other activities. So you always want to keep your eye on that, right? That's a well-meaning intent. Let's decorate lockers, but look at how much time kids have to get done what they need to get done. It does go back, continuing, and I think it's amazing how much education the school is doing right now to talk about balance, right? Things like this challenge success. There's programs to educate parents around things like the mobile. The mobile device it's fantastic, but it's dangerous. Things like what's going on Instagram and seeing your friends having fun. And hey, I'm not included.
Yeah.
So I think we can do more. I think it's getting to parents of the younger kids to start, some of that exposure, the dangers of mobile, making them aware sooner so everyone's not so reliant on them. And I think trying to get all parents on the same page, right? If everybody said, hey, let's put your device away at 9 o'clock at night, now when everyone's not texting up until late at night, things like that. So those are just a few ideas.
Yeah. So would you ever consider collaborating with the principal's advisory at the high school?
Yeah, sure. Now that's one I don't know a great deal about. I think generally speaking, engaging with the principals, whether it's the high school or the middle school or Dale or Memorial, I think is great. It's a great opportunity to keep that signal. And by all means, it's just more about what are they looking for in somebody, and am I a fit to help?
Yeah, and from what I know, the principal's advisory is a group of kids who meet with the principal every once in a while, and they're from all different grades. So it sounds like something that you were talking about.
I think it's nice. It's a good opportunity for the kids as well to hear what they have to say, and I think being right in front of them spurns questions that you may not otherwise ask if you're a part of it. So, sure, that would be great.
Yeah. So that was our last question. So now, would you please take a few moments to speak to the audience? You have up to 2 minutes to respond.
Oh, sure. Well, I guess I'll finish. I look over here. One, I'd say to you, thank you. This is a great opportunity, thanks to the folks in the studio here as well. I shared a little bit of the process I've gone through between putting my toe in the water and foot in the water and now maybe diving into the pool. I think it's a great opportunity that I have. I'm really appreciative of it. This process, just having some sense of the types of questions you guys might ask, it's been a forcing function to do some research, make sure this is something I want to do, which is, there's no doubt. I was excited right from the beginning. And as far as what I can bring to the table, I think that the experience on the things like the budget and managing different stakeholders with different questions and different opinions, the experience I've had in K through 12, whether it's on my professional side or on the analytics side or with my kids, which is just been awesome. And as I learn more, I just want to do more. So I don't know, how do you say other than I'm really excited to join the team. I'm thrilled with the program that we have. The school committee, what they're already doing today is fantastic, and I really am excited to join the team.
Yeah, so I wish to thank the candidate for participating in this interview. And please remember that democracy is not a spectator sport. Please vote at the Center on Icehouse Road on Monday, March 25th from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Let's look at current state. What problems do you have? What what resources do you have? Whether it's financial or people, and what changes might you want to make? Right? Is it even feasible? So if you look, and I was in a meeting this week with the Warren Committee where Jeff was talking about how is the school now continuing to figure out ways to take money that they're spending and reallocate it